Hello everybody, my name is Mitch, and today we're going to go over Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland, the full fight card. We'll go through my picks. Today we're outside, so if you hear something, then it's probably a dog or the neighbor. And if you're new here, we do go over the picks first, and then we'll talk about the reasons why. So let's go ahead and get started with the picks themselves. Alright, so we have J.P. Buys, Montel Jackson, Trevin Giles, Grant Dawson, Macy Chison, Ty Tuivasa, Song Kanan, Adrian Yanez, Cheyenne Buys, Gregor Gillespie, and Kevin Holland. So those are my picks, and now we'll go ahead and talk about the reasons why. Alright, so if you are interested in the odds, here, probably went way too fast there, I'll slow down a bit. But here are the odds. Now, the first fight we have is J.P. Buys versus Bruno Silva. So on Bruno Silva's side of things, we see the opposite of what we want. We see lack of momentum. He's joined the UFC and essentially has been shown that he's not quite to the level. But if we look at J.P. Buys' side of things, he only has one fight in the UFC if you do count the Contender Series. Other than that, he is kind of on a momentum swing here. Whoops, I was supposed to be looking at J.P. Buys' side of things. He has the momentum in his corner, gets a finish in his Contender Series, if you want to count that his UFC debut, which I will. I'm going to go with J.P. Buys here. Next, we have Montel Jackson versus Jesse Straiter. If we look at Montel Jackson's history here, we see he went the distance with Ricky Simon, a win over Brian Kelleher, a win over Andre Sukumha. If we go over to the other side of things, Jesse Straiter, while I do love these combate fighters, I feel like they're real gritty and tough fighters, and I feel like they have a future in the UFC. I feel like their debuts tend to fall short, and at any rate, I just don't know enough about this fighter, so I'm going to have to go with Montel Jackson just because of the proven work that I've already seen. Next, I've got Trevin Giles versus Roman Delezy. Trevin Giles, I think, actually. At any rate, I've got Trevin winning here. His history, again, I like to go off of history because it's one of the best things I feel like we have as a resource. James Krause, to me, is a respected fighter. I like that he's got a win over him. On the other side of things, we have Roman Delezy, who perhaps I am looking past, but we see a split decision. He goes the distance with John Allen. If we look at John Allen's side of things, do what you want with this information, but here's his history. I feel like maybe this is someone that I'd like to see maybe get finished in a loss, but at any rate, I'm going to go with Trevin Giles here. Next, we have Leonardo Santos and Grant Dawson. Neither of these fighters have lost in a really long time. We have 2013 for Leonardo Santos, and on Grant Dawson's side of things, we have 2016. Now, I'm going to go with the younger fighter here. I feel like age plays a part a lot of the times. We have 27 years old on this side, 41 on this side. Leonardo is definitely destroyed prospects in the past. See Kevin Lee here, although Kevin Lee has taken a lot of tough losses, but that's besides the point. At any rate, we're going to go with Grant Dawson with this one. Next, we have Marion Reneau versus Macy Chison, another one where we're going to go with age here. We have 43 years of age versus 29 years of age. But if you don't like that reason, just look at this. I mean, the size difference is just absurd. I mean, is that just me? I mean, come on. I'm going with Macy here, easy. I don't know what the odds are. I know I browsed past them, but I feel like regardless, this is crazy. Next, we have Ty Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker. Now, I hate picking this man's fights. I feel like I want him to win more than he wants himself to win. If we look, it looks like he may have been on the brink of exiting the UFC, perhaps after entering undefeated and getting a bunch of wins in a row. But at any rate, he beats Stefan Struve. Hopefully he's turned over a new leaf. That, and hopefully the UFC has done a good job in throwing cans at him. I don't know who Harry Hunsucker is. I feel like he doesn't have a great name, but he's making his UFC debut here. I'm going to guess he's a tomato can, and the UFC is trying to push Ty Tuivasa because he does shoeies and whatever that stuff is. Next, we have Song Kanan versus Max Griffin. Kanan's Song seems to have a lot of power in his hands. He seems to be gritty and willing to fight, which I feel like is a big attribute. When you see someone in there that clearly wants to be in the fight more than the opponent, sometimes I feel like that can kind of spell out who's going to win in the end. For Max Griffin's side of things, if you're a big Max Griffin side, I apologize. I know it hasn't been pretty. I think it's going to continue to not be pretty. I have a feeling he is on his way out. He's on the wrong side of 30, and I think this is... Oh, so is Song Kanon. At any rate, wrong side of 34, you get it. Next, we have Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez. I feel like this one can lazily be explained as kind of a grappler versus a striker, more technical type. I feel like Adrian Yanez has great striking. We saw a head kick that you don't just land on purpose in the last fight that he won, and it did lead to a knockout. I think it might have been a true KO. I don't remember exactly. However, on Gustavo's side, this is a gritty fighter. Again, these combate fighters, I feel like they move forward and they're really down to get in a fight. I feel like Adrian will be able to at least survive the onslaught, maybe even lose a round. But I see this being a potential fight of the night. I'm thinking a finish by Adrian late is where I'm leaning. So I'm going to go with Adrian in this one. I'm very excited for this fight either way. Next, we have Cheyenne Buys versus Montserrat Ruiz. Now, if you can't tell, I kind of feel like the UFC, knows what they're doing and tries to push certain fighters. I don't think that they can, make a fighter win, but I think they can kind of match make it so that the odds are in their favor. At any rate, I think Cheyenne Buys would be the fighter to push. She's young, and we saw JP Buys earlier on the card. I feel like husband and wife type thing is awesome to push. But aside from all that, Cheyenne Buys comes in. She wins a decision or contender series. If we look at Montserrat Ruiz's side of things, she has a pretty good record as well. I did go into and try to see who she lost to. If you're curious, this is who she lost to. So she used to be in the UFC, lost to Weili Zhang actually. So good experience there, but didn't get finished by her. So definitely tough competition. And then her last win was Janisa, who seems to have lost a lot of her last ones. So I don't really know what to make out of the competition at all. I feel like both of these fighters honestly aren't too experienced in terms of high level fighting, but what do I know? I'm going to go with Cheyenne Buys at any rate here. Next, we have Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddle. I've got Gregor Gillespie winning this one just because Brad Riddle isn't really a finisher, at least according to his last 4 fights. I know he's gotten finishes before he joins the UFC, but now since he's been in the UFC and has more stiff of competition, I don't see him getting finishes as much, and I think that's something that Gregor Gillespie can thrive in. We all know what happens when Gregor Gillespie fights someone who has the ability to finish, the power to finish. I'm not saying that Brad Riddle can't get it done. I'm just saying he hasn't been doing it lately. I'm pretty high on Gregor Gillespie. On top of that, I feel like Gregor Gillespie is closer to his prime. Brad Riddle, I feel like he's got a few years to kind of develop into it. I tend to think the prime is just over 30 years old, but that's just my opinion. I guess, what do you guys think the prime is, honestly, on that note? Because I haven't really talked to too many people about that. I just kind of see when fighters seem to perform the best to me. I feel like it's right over 30. I'd like to know what you guys think, though. Last but not least, for the main event, we have Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. Now, on the Nuts and Bolts MMA podcast that I had done, and I'll leave a link in that description below, I picked Derek Brunson, and I'll explain why, and also why I changed my mind. So, I picked Derek Brunson because of his last fight, Edmund Shabazian versus Derek Brunson, in conjunction with Kevin Holland's last fight, Ronaldo versus Kevin Holland. I saw Derek Brunson getting easy takedowns. I saw Kevin Holland getting taken down easily. I saw Derek Brunson being able to hold him down, and I saw Kevin Holland being able to be held down, although he did land that power strike at the end. I didn't see that happening against Derek Brunson. So I felt like a lot of people were seeing the Izzy versus Derek Brunson fight and leaning towards Kevin Holland because of that. And now I did change my mind, mostly because of age. Derek Brunson is 37 years old at this point, and I didn't really anticipate how much that would affect him. There's a plane going overhead, so I just really want to finish this video and wrap it up and put it on YouTube. I thought being outside would be nice, but it actually is not that nice. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, follow me on the other platforms. This video wasn't the best,